I want to say hello to you, Syndee Winters, my friend, and you are an actor and a singer, and you probably write songs. I'm guessing, and we met doing Women Rock, which is the symphony show that I've been doing for the past couple of years. And you came on and subbed for Shayna, and we sat in the car for the whole ride back from the airport, laughing so hard, and I felt like this girl's really funny. I like this girl. Yeah. So it was awesome. We had this, like, it was weird though, because it was right before the quarantine. So people were just starting to wear the masks. Like, remember we drove by that woman and she had a mask on in her car. We were like, look at that crazy.
Susan, look at you crazy ass. Wait, you went in your car, Susan?
I know. We were like, and we had no idea. I mean, just about to go do a show. We were fine. We were like shaking hands and like, right.
Hugging.
But it was hugging people. And like, it was only just like March 8th. I mean, like 3 days after we all got home, they locked us down.
Yeah. When I first when I came back home,
yeah,
I was in rehearsals for a show.
You were in New York, right? You went to New York?
I flew back to New York, and I was in rehearsals for this like workshop, and I got there, and literally the next day it was shut down. Everyone had rehearsed for 4 days. So I had flown from Chicago to Wisconsin to do a group sales event for that project.
And I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And I was like, huh. And literally I was like, you know what? I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I had a rumor that they were going to lock down New York, like put a perimeter around the city.
Oh yeah.
I found out noon that day. I was on a flight at 5:00 to Miami. I was like, come pick me up.
No, because I thought about you because you were flying a ton. Like when we came off the plane in Chicago, even, I remember thinking to now the other thing too, is that I moved out of the city 5 minutes before that. So I was going into like Albany airport, whereas like most people going into JFK, which is like ground zero for this shit. And I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about you, thinking she had to fly a couple more times, like after I saw her. And I didn't know if you stayed in the city, if you ended up in Florida, if you like, I didn't know. We just kind of, everybody went to neutral corners, and then it was like done. And I think all of us have been spending the last like 2.5 months trying to figure out what the fuck is happening. Do you know what I'm saying? Like what? I think all of us have been like, oh, it's going to be over any minute now. Any second now. And then what happens? It's going and it's going and it's going and it's still going. And now I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's like time for plan B. Like,
oh yeah.
Right.
I have a friend in China, and she's been dealing with it since November, December, around that time. And I would check in with her every now and then. And I was like, what's going on? How are you? She's like, I'm here, girl. I'm here as much as I can be, which is right here. And they went in there about 4 months before they started like opening up China more.
But musicians, we're screwed.
I don't want to say that. I'm trying to be optimistic.
I know that sounds so pessimistic. I think it's because it's starting to hit me now, because they're starting to do the phases in New York, and they're starting to talk about like when they're going to roll out certain things. And it was like this week they started saying about like entertainment being phase 4, and they keep pushing back phase 2. And so I'm thinking to myself, we're the last ones to go back to work, man. Like we are going to be the last ones to go back to work. And how are they going to do that? What's that going to be like? Are we going to be playing to like masked people? Because you perform at Disney.
Yeah, I performed at Disney, and there was nothing at Disney World that gave us any signs of that. It was jam packed, and it was only a limited engagement.
Wow.
At Disney World, so I won't be back there hopefully until next year.
Got you. I thought you were like, you're waiting on going back there.
No, it was a residency, and then but I actually got to finish. We finished the festival and everything, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, shut down.
And then you were, just to like, so people know what you were doing there, you were playing Nala, right, in Lion King?
At Disney World, no, I was just performing in a concert that was a partnership between Disney on Broadway and Walt Disney World Park
Okay.
at Epcot Center. And we were just performing as Syndee Winters from The Lion King. But on Broadway, I've played Nala, and I
Yes.
toured North America as Nala in The Lion King. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I saw you. It's funny. I think it's like the perfect thing. You also played Lena Horne
Uh-huh.
in the show. And
Yeah, that's a show that I've been writing.
and you were in Hamilton.
Yes, I did not write that show, but I was also in that cast as
Oh
well.
my God. So you've done some amazing things, but I have to just say that like quite possibly my favorite thing that I saw today that you did is the Law and Order episode.
Oh,
But
thank you.
wait. This girl gets in Mariska Hargitay's face and she's doing all this like nervous shit and you're just like standing there locking her like they're watching you going, I love this girl, man. So you play a teacher who's basically accusing or questioning Mariska Hargitay's character about her son and like whether or not he's been abused in her home and by her. And you are just like cool and calm and subtle. And she's doing all this nervous shit. And it was crazy. That I thought the juxtaposition of that was pretty amazing. That you could
thank you.
Because she's like a legend, dude. And you're like, you're just holding it. You're like, what?
You know, that was the first time I'd ever done anything on TV.
Oh my God.
And
it was a big thing to do that on TV.
I was like, what? So the Mariska Hargitay had come to Hamilton a couple of months. She's come to Hamilton quite a few times.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I had just met her one day. I locked myself out of my apartment, so I had to come to work after walking the dog.
Oh no.
So I had to drop the dog at my friend's house and then like go to work in my pajamas. They have everything there on Broadway. I was in Hamilton at the time. They had everything. They had everything including underwear. So I was like, I'm good. Like I just show up in my pajamas. So that particular day, Mariska Hargitay came with her daughter and I really wanted to meet her and blah, blah, blah. So I met her, I took a picture, you know, here only.
Yeah, right.
And then I get a call months and months and months later, an audition for Law and Order. And the lazy actor, the lazy person in me was like, I'm not gonna wear my contact lenses to this audition. I'm just gonna wear my glasses. And I ended up getting the job, and the in bold print in the email before showing up in the call sheet, they're like, bring your glasses.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, I don't know if it's talent, but I know that I had the right wardrobe.
But isn't that funny though? Like how you make these crazy decisions, right? Like right before you walk into an audition or right before you and you don't even really think about it. And that ends up being the thing.
Yep.
How often does that happen? I feel like that happens a lot.
Oh my gosh. It's happened every time I've booked something.
Yeah.
It's so wild. So this, I'll give you a couple of examples.
Yeah.
So when I auditioned for The Lion King, what I believed to be the last time, I was like, I'm going to audition for the show again. I had auditioned like 4 times prior.
Oh, it's so brutal.
For the same role.
Oh.
So I was like, I'm not going to do this again. Right before the final callback, I get like the hiccups.
Oh no.
So I'm like, oh damn. Well, this is a whack way to go. So then I remembered this trick that my best friend's grandmother taught me. It was if you drink a glass of water upside down, it'll kick your hiccups. Yeah. I was like, man, I don't have any other option right now. Let's just go with this. So I did that, and they went away. And literally, as they went away, they called my name to come in.
Oh my God! So you're having them like sitting outside of Chelsea's office or whoever it was.
It was at what is Chelsea? Remember Chelsea Studios?
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Oh my God!
Is this how I'm gonna bomb this gig?
Yeah.
So I left and came. I was on my way home, and then they actually offered me the job. And I was like,
When
that would not have happened if I didn't have those whack ass
I'm telling you,
hiccups.
I know. Well, the hiccup thing, just so people know, you can also, so I've seen two things. One is you take a match, you light it, put it out, and dip it right into the water, or you put it out in the water. And the sulfur from the match, you drink the water. Apparently, the sulfur from the match will get rid of the hiccups. The other thing that I always do, you can also put a pencil in your mouth long ways and drink water that way. I have no idea if any of this shit.
What?
It works for me. I don't know if it's mind over matter, but the other thing that I'll do is I'll just take a big glass of water and just drink it super slow, like tiny sips, but almost like not taking any breaths. Just
Yeah.
drink all the way down, and then
And
they're
press
gone.
it out.
Whole,
That
it's I
pencil,
think
the
it's like
pencil and the match. Like, who has all those things accessible, Cassidy?
not an audition. You don't have matches at an audition.
Dang it.
Well, the auditioning process. So, how are you in the auditioning process? I mean, I feel like auditioning has gotten better as I've gotten older
Okay.
because I know myself more now, and the pressure's a little bit off. Like, I am what I am. Where like I think when I was in my 20s, I was like, I'll, I'm whoever you say I am. I'll be whatever you want. You know what I mean? Yes, I am. I'm every woman. You know. Now I'm sort of like it is. I just kind of is what it is. It just kind of is what it is, and I'm either right for this thing or I'm not. And at some point, you got to be good with that. And at some point, you got to like say yes to the things that you know that you even have like a hint of a chance of getting, and stop wasting. Because like I would be brought in for things that were like for short Hispanic girls, you know, or tall Hispanic girls, or, you know, things that were like not even almost like high sopranos, or like things that just like were not at all what I did. Whereas now as I get older, I feel like it's a thing. So I'm more comfortable in the room, I feel like, because of that. But how,
Yeah.
like, was auditioning for you always, did you learn how to do it? Did you, because I know that there's like certain schools that teach you how to do it.
Yeah. So, the short answer to that is I auditioned a lot. I've auditioned a lot, but also I took a class on it.
You did.
I did. But it wasn't necessarily about auditioning. It was about the casting process.
Mm,
So I learned it was an acting class. It was an acting for camera class,
right.
and the the teacher of the class was a casting director, and she casted Rent.
Ooh.
Her name is Heidi Marshall, and so Heidi spent the first class, which is about 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
She spent the first class just laying out the entire casting process and what role the casting director plays, what role everyone else in front or behind the casting director plays,
Huh.
and then what role the relationship between the actor and the casting director. And I had been auditioning for a while, and I had booked Lion King, but I wanted to do other things.
Of course.
And after taking this class, it like opened up my mind. I was like, oh, I get it. So
Wow.
I'm
So,
actually here to help solve an equation. Anything outside of that, I can't be responsible for.
so like, explain that to me. What does that mean? Like
So,
that specifically.
so similar to what you're saying is, uh, I know what I can do. I know what I'm good at. I know
Right.
what I bring to the table, and then anything outside of that, I'm not going to apologize for. I'm just going to say, "Hey, let's do it." I go into the room and I am pleasant. I am happy. I am ready to work. I am flexible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're telling me to change something, I'm like, got it. I'm not gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like I can't get hung up. I can't get hung up. I gotta be like, got it. Okay, cool. Like,
Move on.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
instead of red, I need blue. All right, cool. But not like instead of red, I need blue. But I got red and I spent so much time on red. I don't give a rat's ass about what you say you spent time on. I need blue.
You're so right though, dude. Well, this is how I am about musicians though too, right? So I come from a rock and roll background, being in rock bands, and there's something about that where you're dealing, for the most part, you're not like dealing with a lot of Berklee graduates, right? When you're doing rock music, it's a lot of people who taught themselves how to play in the basement, joined a rock band super young, are probably very good at what they do, but a lot of them don't sight read. A lot of people do stuff, by ear. All of that's great. But it's a different kind of thing because everybody's doing it by feel, and you're kind of, you come to the party with your instincts. You come to the party with what you know and how you know how to do it. And sometimes you come to the party with a giant chip on your shoulder, right? And so, and sometimes it's because of that. Sometimes it's
because you don't know.
And so you feel like everybody's judging you, and you feel like everybody knows that you don't know. But really, what they're probably thinking is like, it's just you're talented too. Like nobody's really thinking about it because your confidence level is such that you're right away assuming that people know that you don't have the education, you don't have the background. But what I was going to say is that like, I can be like this with bands because for me, like I've done both. I've played with guys with the best musical education ever. And I've played gals too, girls and guys, gals too. And I've played with, that. And I've played with people who are like completely self-taught, like mongrels like me, man. Mongrels like me, man, who just like are also in the room. Thank you very much. Right. So we're all in the room. We all got here somehow, and here we all are. But like for me, I don't even care. It's about a vibe. It's about a vibe. And I think like two things happen. When you work for somebody, they know the vibe that they want. And so sometimes they can't let go of it, but sometimes you can go in and show them something completely different and completely change their mind about the vibe they wanted.
Right. Exactly. And I come from the same school you come from, the school of mongrels, because I'm out here just being a ragamuffin. Yeah. Pretty much self-taught. I did go to school. I went to school and I decided I was finished. So
yeah. No, I know what you mean. You're not the first person that I hear, just because people want to work. John Mayer too. He left Berklee. It's like, you want to work, you want to go try.
Yeah. And I was going to school, and I was almost finished. They said, we'll give you your degree if we'll give you an associate's. And I was like, all right, cool.
And you went to the school that Jake went to.
Yeah. So Jake and I went to the same school.
So for people who are watching, Jake is
Jake Navarro.
Jake Navarro is an amazing drummer, and he's a friend. And we do Women Rock together, which is the symphony show. But he's also a great rock drummer. I'm actually going to do a project with Jake. I think we're going to put a band together, just have some fun doing that. But Jake is like funny and cool and gorgeous, and like has everything going for him. And you went to school with him, which isn't something you guys did Women Rock together. And he's like, I know you. And you're like, I know you. And so we're Five Towns. Is that it?
Five Towns. Yeah. So I finished there, but I left there because I got the job with the Lion King. So I was like, y'all, I know we want to go to the end of the term and everything, but it's exactly what I went to school for. So basically, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce. Yeah,
I'm out. I'll see you when
I see you. Yeah.
So from there, I went on, and I still bump into people from school. So at least taught me, like, I developed relationships from them. I made friends from there that I bump into all over the industry and all different types of jobs in different places that I am. And so,
the kids that come out of Five Towns work, man.
I mean, killing. When I was there, there was this in front of the administration office. There were these like photographs, like printed out photographs, like from the printer, printed out and taped onto the administration window.
Yeah.
Or and you would walk through like this corridor, you would be able to see it. And so you'd see the likes of Wyclef Jean, the members of Nina Sky, Adam Levine, and Chrisette Michele. They would call it the Five Towns Hall of Fame. But they just had it printed They ain't even give him a plaque or nothing.
There was no ceremony that you could
There's no
get dressed
ceremony.
up and take
Yeah.
a picture.
No.
They give honorary degrees out. I always felt like that was a little bit. So like, I remember watching Bruce Willis get an honorary degree from like some university. And I remember thinking, I want an honorary degree. You don't have to do nothing. You just have to be like Bruce Willis, I guess.
You got to be in the game, got to be in the field. But I do like Five Towns because at the same time, when I left, the teachers from there were like, you left to go and do the exact thing that, you know, this school is built on and is supposed to build you to do.
Right.
So they gave me one of those distinguished alumni awards.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's what's up. I got to talk to these kids.
So they're going to print your picture and they're going to scotch tape that. They're going to scotch tape it right next to Adam Levine.
I need that double stick. You hear?
You got to put it right next to Adam Levine, between Adam Levine.
Yeah. And Wyclef Jean. Syndee Winters.
There she is. Just make sure.
And I bet you that all of them are all like school dropouts because.
Of course. Well, you know, who else is Katrina? Katrina was going to NYU. Katrina, who we did Women Rock with, she was going to NYU and got Hairspray. Same thing. And she dropped out and she tried to get back. I don't know if she ever finished, because she may have, but she may not have. I don't want to speak for her. I don't remember. She talks about it though. I mean, to me, it's like, you know, I always thought when I left high school and got right into it and started being in bands and started singing and doing all that shit. And like, I was working pretty much right away too. And I always kind of was flying by the seat of my pants, you know, just trying to figure out. And then the rock band thing sort of happened, but it could have gone really either way for me because I've actually studied more acting than music, and music has been more successful, not because I've tried to do both. Music happened first. And I think it was because it was easiest. It was like I could create my own thing and then put it out there. Whereas acting, especially, you know, YouTube and all the things, you know, there was no Netflix and shit even when I started. You couldn't really make your own vehicle in the same way. You needed like serious camera equipment. You needed like lighting. Like there were things you had to do to even make a student film. You needed access to your like school's equipment and shit. So I did a little bit of acting, but the music was like, have guitar, we'll travel. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have a bunch of like rapscallions in a van and we're going to like take that shit all over the place. Nobody needs to eat nothing but Chex Mix. You know, and we're just gonna like go and sing songs for the people. And like that's
like you kind of have the control in that way.
Yeah, but the acting, it was like it required me to be able to figure out how to live in New York City and do the thing. But then later, after I made my like music money, I started going to acting school because I really wanted to learn how to do that, and I really wanted to be a part of it and like audition. And so I've done more of it since. And I feel like in some ways that New York sort of experience, like it requires a lot of grit, but it also requires money. Like everybody that I know that got to stay in New York City got a job pretty young, you know, like I got a record deal pretty young. So I was able to live around New York City and relax and go to school and do a thing. It just becomes sort of cost prohibitive, you know? It's like, how did you survive? Where did you live? Was your family here? Because I know that you split time a little bit, right? You go, have you always gone to and from Florida, or is this a new thing?
So I'm originally from New York, and I grew up in Brentwood, and I have family that lives in East Islip in Long Island.
That's right.
So when I graduated high school, I did like 2 years here of college. And then I was like, what the hell am I doing here? I was dancing and I was like a dancer, and I was working in commercial dance, like music videos and commercials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to go to New York. And my first job out in New York, I stayed with my family in Great River. It's what this area is called. Very small. It's like literally like a square mile long. I auditioned for the Nick City Dancers, and that was my first job in 2006.
Wow.
And
What was that like? So you were, that's crazy.
That was an open call.
Oh my God.
I used to go to a lot of open calls. I mean, I auditioned for Diddy's Making the Band twice. I auditioned for American Idol. I auditioned for America's Got Talent. Got all the way to LA, actually.
Wow.
But I didn't get past like the first
What
round.
is that process like? What was that like?
This was the first season of America's Got Talent. And they came to Miami, and my girlfriend, who I was dancing with a group of 4 girls, and we would try to pick up gigs wherever we could. And then we were doing pretty well. I mean, they were well connected in the Miami scene, because the Miami scene was kind of small.
But what would you like? What were we doing? Like clubs and parties and?
Yeah, so we would do clubs, parties, big festivals.
Okay.
We were traveling. There was more in the Latin market, so I think it was this program called The Roof. My girlfriends were on this program called The Roof, and so they all worked together. And then I started dancing with this other one of the dancers in that cast.
Right.
He brought me in. Her name is Crystal Munoz, and she brought me into the scene. And so we all auditioned for the same things, and sometimes we got booked together. And I auditioned for the Miami Heat, and we all did. None of us made the team.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So we were rehearsing for something like a festival, and my girlfriend Crystal says, "Hey y'all, there's an audition for America's Got Talent. I think we got a shot. We can go as a singing group." I was like, "Bitch, which one of us is the singer?" Because I look around and none of y'all been busting the note except for me.
Oh no.
And she was like, "Right, we're a singing group.
You're going to sing and we're going to dance behind you?"
And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, here's how we have to do this. I have to teach you to sing. Otherwise, we're going to get disqualified."
Oh my God.
So she's like, "Don't worry about it." Because this is around the time that the Pussycat Dolls were around.
Oh yeah. Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? I loved that shit.
Yes. Me too.
Loved
yes.
it. Yeah.
And God bless Nicole Scherzinger, because she could sing. And then the other chick, Melody, she was good too. So
who? I don't even. Yeah.
Right. She had the ad libs. She got the ad libs. So we go to this audition. We sing Buttons from Pussycat Dolls. Loosen up my buttons, babe. And we were killing it.
Oh my God.
Couldn't tell me nothing, Cassidy. I was like,
You're like, what? No.
So they were like, "All right, you're going to LA." We're like, "We're going to LA." So we go to LA. They put us up. We get to sound check, and it's like Ricky Minor. He's the MD.
I met Ricky Minor. He's amazing.
Amazing.
I know.
So he's like, "All right, what are y'all doing?" So my friend picks this song, and she picks a song by a solo artist, and it's a new song. So chances are they can't clear it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. That's okay. So let's explain that. So these TV shows, even the show that you and I did together, like Women Rock, you can't go out and perform, whether it be on TV, whether it be on a stage show. If you go see a symphony show, they have to clear these songs. They have to get permission from the artist or the person who wrote the song. Sometimes they have to go through 3-4 people. They got to go through the label, the publishing company. Sometimes it's a total shit show. What you're hoping is that the artist owns their publishing. It's more common now, but not for really big radio songs. There's like 50,000 people whose hands are in the pot at that point. People come up to us like during Women Rock and they're like, "You guys should do You're So Vain by Carly Simon." It's like, yeah, there's a lot of songs we should do, but unfortunately, like, you get what you can sort of clear and what you can afford, because it can cost a freaking fortune. So back to what you were saying, just wanted to like give a little side note on that. So you had a song, it was a newer song, it was like a pop song kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a pop song.
Got you.
And I was like, now I got this, but I have to now teach a 4-part harmony.
Oh my God.
Because we're a singing group.
When did, like, how much time did you have?
We had about 3 weeks.
Okay, that's not bad.
I was like, "Y'all, here's your note." Now me and my mongrel education.
Right. That's really hard.
Yeah. So I'm like, whatever education that I had growing up in a choir, I was like,
right.
Altos.
Yeah. Right.
Watch me. So, you know, we were determined. So we get there and we do our sound.
But they had ears at least.
What are you talking
In other
about?
words, the girls
What?
had ears, or else
Oh
they
yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah. I thought you meant like in ears. I was like,
No, I
no.
just mean like they could at least hear the note, because sometimes you got some shit where more or less.
Some of us could, some of us struggled.
I've been in situations like that.
So because you're a dancer, like in no form of your life
course.
are you saying I sing.
Right.
But now we're just like young and we're like, yeah, we'll do anything.
Of
So
course.
we go to the sound check and it's not great. One of the girls who I shared the song with got laryngitis. She choked basically.
Do
And
you
I'm
think it
like,
was
"Damn."
nerves, or just from like singing and never using that muscle?
So like being that, but
Right.
then LA, smog,
Oh
climate,
yeah, the dry,
it's so
forget it.
dry. Like it started to get to me too, but because I sang, I was just like, singers were like,
You just
don't be
push.
embarrassed. You just
No.
push and we'll deal with the hemorrhage later.
You just find the little
You
pathway for
negotiate.
the sound. You find the little, there it is. I'm gonna push it through that little hole in my vocal cord. I know, man.
Feel like we're just gonna negotiate until we find something that comes out. So I'm drinking all the water, I'm like, and I know half of the things. I know a fraction of the things that I know now as a singer.
Right. How to fix it. Yeah.
Right. So then, so we go back. My girl got the laryngitis, bails out of the song.
Oh my
So
God.
that night before we
Fixing
go
this.
on, the night before we actually have to film, I'm like, okay, now we got to rewrite, we got to reset all the harmonies. So now you got to sing harmony and I got to sing the whole song by myself.
Oh my God.
So now we spend the whole night going over the new arrangement.
Right.
And day of the show, right before we're supposed to go on stage, there's a blackout. LA goes through a full-on blackout.
What year is this?
I was like, it's 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like either late 2005 or 2006. And I was like,
okay. Yeah. I was in New York at that point.
like, ooh, okay, what's this? So they eventually were able to get the power back on. We go on stage, we do our thing. And I'm like, I'm Beyonce in this life. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, there's lights, it's everything I've ever dreamed, Cassidy.
You're just going to freaking take the house down.
And I'm like, let's go. And then, so we finish. And the judges, I look up and we have 2 X's out of 3.
So what does that mean? Like get off the stage?
So 3 X's means you stop your performance completely.
Oh no, you had 2 out of 3.
We get 2 X's. I'm like, damn. So the judges were Piers Morgan, David Hasselhoff.
This is my dream.
And Brandy.
This is my dream.
Thank God for
Brandy was there. I was saying Brandy was there.
So David Hasselhoff was like,
you mean you weren't up David Hasselhoff's alley? I feel like I'd be so offended by that.
So both David Hasselhoff and Brandy, David Hasselhoff and Piers Morgan were like, we don't get it. You were supposed to be a group and only one person singing.
Whoops.
Oop. He wasn't wrong. And then Piers Morgan says, you're like Beyonce. And I'm like, let's not do that.
Right.
All in front of all of us.
That's
one of my girls who was in the group who knows she don't sing, she was like, child, I knew this. No, I'm nobody's Beyonce, honey.
I know. But here's the thing.
She was true to herself.
But here's the thing. Don't push me out front.
Okay.
Don't push me out front, because I will be out front. And that's what everybody in the group, all the ladies have to understand. You want to push me out front. You're risking. You just
I'm like, but this is just what I do. Like,
of course
I could have there could be a dance, we could be a group. I know that when it's time for me to sing, I'm gonna have some damn fun.
Oh yeah.
So Brandy looks at me and she goes, so you have what it takes, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, you're not going to be able to go to the next round because obviously you're not a group. And I'm like, okay, well. So we go back to the green room and we're hanging out there. And this woman comes by and it's Brandy's mom, who is also her manager.
Oh, that's right.
And she's like, hey, I think you're really special. I would love to have a meeting with you, blah, blah, blah. But the paperwork for America's Got Talent is about this thick.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of
So you're
locked
not
everything up.
allowed. You're not allowed
Yeah.
to even.
So it locked everything up
Damn.
for a while. And so I just decided to move to New York. And
So explain that to people. What does that mean? So what happens? So they make you sign something that says what?
basically, it's been so long ago, but you cannot disclose or you can't do anything for a certain duration of time after your performance with the show. Like, so if you perform anywhere, they can like receive any sort of residual or any sort of like royalty based on the fact that you were on their platform. But for America's Got Talent, and that one time, because it was a first season show, it was like maybe 6 months.
Right.
But I was in a place where I was like, I got to move to New York or California, and I don't know anybody in California. So I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to register for school,
Yeah.
and I'm going to audition for the Knicks, and we'll see where it goes. And that was the fork in the road. And I went with moving to New York and got my job, went to an open call for the Knicks City Dancers, and made the team that year. And then from there got an agent, and then went on auditions and danced up there and sang in wedding bands, and
Oh my
and
God.
auditioned for the Lion King, and the rest is history. But it started in that like fork in the road in 2006.
So let me ask you, as far as being a working entertainer, really, because you do everything and you have to diversify. And this is what I've been talking about a lot on these podcasts, how I do a lot of different things. I write and I sing and I act and there's a lot of different things that I do to earn money. I get, mailbox money, and then there's like, a gig and a symphony thing. And then I'm going to be in a rock show, and it's whatever. And so, and it's similar when you go to your website. Is it syndeewinters.com?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll put it up, but it's Syndee for people who are listening. Winters, like the regular spelling. But there's a lot of different things that you do. And it's like that whole New York City triple threat thing. Like, I don't know if people know what that is, but you had to know how to do all of it. You had to know how to sing. You had to know how to act. You had to know how to dance. You had to know how to do a lot of things.
Now it's even more.
I think so too. I think that, so I was saying, like, the music business for me has become kind of a weird place, like a place where I'm not necessarily in love with it the way that I used to be. I don't really see the music business that made me want to do it so bad and made me want to be a part of it and took me all over the world, and sitting in a room by myself for, days and weeks and months writing songs. And it's just a different industry. But I do think that regardless, I will always love music. But that when I was coming up, and maybe you feel the same way, I feel like the intellectuals or the people who were looking for a message of some kind, or the people that they wanted to emulate, were a lot of times musicians, a lot of times singers and bands and that kind of thing. And I don't feel so much like that's where intellectuals go anymore to find their message. I think a lot of them are going to podcasts, and I think a lot of them are going to the personalities that sit behind these microphones and just talk and get people's opinions and do long form conversation. And that you have your rock stars in this industry too, the people who are like the biggest of the big, and then all of his like minions that fall below. And then you have people who are on the fringes, but it's where people come, I think, to get diverse opinions, to learn, to dive deeper on things, and to figure out how they feel about stuff. In a way, like, music did that for me forever and ever, but now I look at the musical landscape and I just think there's nobody that, for me, I think, boy, that message is going to change the world.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? In the way that music did at one time. And my point really is that you were talking about you want to do a podcast, you're an actor, you're a singer, you're doing shows, you're coming from a place of yes, like all day long. It's like the gig is the gig. You're going to go make your paper. Sometimes it's going to be great. Sometimes it's going to suck. There isn't this like preciousness about like what I do and like my integrity and like, you know, where I think as a rock singer, I had that for so long. Like for so long, there were things that I just like wouldn't do. And I think that it cut me off.
It limits you in a way.
It does. Yeah. It does. And I think that saying yes to things and being willing to do things, because we laughed about this. Like we were talking about wedding bands and how you just go in and you do the thing. You just do the thing. And how I walked out on a wedding band. I just walked out and I had just done it when I met you. Like I had literally done it like the weekend before because I'd never ever done it before. And my boyfriend Mark tried to get me to do it. And I wasn't even above it. It was that it was overwhelming to me. Like I just felt like it was this crazy gig that I could not get my head around. Like all of these songs that people want to have like a certain way and the lyrics don't mean anything to me and I'm getting like super precious about that. And it's like, you just got to have fun with it. And if you can't have fun with it, you can't do it. Like it's that simple, you know, you can't, right? You just got to like, you were saying how you just go in and like you say, what are the songs? Yep. And you have like a whole repertoire and you just do it. And it's like, I envy people like you. I feel like that hustle, is what makes longevity in careers. And I don't think that a longevity in a career only looks one way. I think that one has to have an open mind about what that looks like, you know?
Right.
And so you and I bonded on something when we met. It all sort of leads me to this point. At some point, and if you don't want to talk about this, we will cut it out because this thing gets edited, girl. This thing is not live. But I want to talk about Landmark.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Sure. So
here's the thing. At some point, you decided that was something that you wanted to do, right?
Well,
or no?
Sort of. So I'd never heard of it until a very good friend and mentor. I had come to her with like a block that I was having with another person.
Right.
And a person that meant something to me.
Yeah.
And I was already on this kind of journey of being a better communicator and kind of having more tools to be able to deal with my life.
Right.
And so she was like, I think you should check out Landmark. I did it. I have people who have been a part of the organization for a long time. It helped me in a relationship with my family members. And I believe that it will help you so much because I've known you for 20 years. I will sponsor you.
Oh,
so
wow.
there was zero.
You didn't pay for it.
Yeah, I paid. She's like, I'll pay for half of it. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll pay for the other half. Like, whatever.
Yeah. That takes a big chunk out.
Yeah. And so, when I went, it transformed my way of thinking about everything. And on top of the person who I already am, and I'm like an idealist, but I'm also super practical in a way. It really helped me. And you talked about integrity before, and I was like, yep, that was
there it is. And there's the word. And so this is the thing, right? So, we talked about this, but I was kind of brought in a similar way in that I didn't know about it. I had people around me in Los Angeles for whatever reason. All of a sudden, it seemed like everybody was doing it or had just done it. It was weird. It was just like one of those weird times where it was like, you too, you did it too. That's so crazy. Like I keep hearing about this thing. And what's funny is I literally don't know anybody now. Like you're the first person in years that has said anything to, me about it.
Maybe it's like a certain part of your life.
Yeah. Like, so this thing appeared in Los Angeles, and I was in a situation where I had the time and I had the money. So I was like, cool. So I went and I did it, not knowing what to expect, not thinking that I was going to get anything out of it. And honestly, I am not a joiner.
Same.
I know. So this is the thing about it, right? Is that I'm not somebody who's going to now like, and I did it years ago. So I never talk about it. So this certainly is not something that like I'm going around trying to get people to do. I never was one of those people who like, even afterwards, like in graduation, when they encourage you to bring people, like I never brought anybody. Nope. And we bonded on that too. But what I will say is that shit changed my life. I've never sold it to anyone. I've never sponsored anybody, although I have considered it. I've never walked around like trying to like tell people that, you know, because like it can get so deep. Like I've known people who have gotten so crazy on it that they start to analyze everything you're saying.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's a speech that comes from the Landmark sort of crew that you feel like you're being dissected or just sort of looked through every time, and they're intense sort of listening to everything that you're saying. I've never been one of those, but I will say that the basic tenet of this thing is integrity, but not maybe in the way that people think of integrity, right? So like everybody believes they have integrity, just like everybody believes that they're a good guy. Everybody does. So that's great. But integrity on a level where you take responsibility for yourself and for every single thing that has happened and will happen, and that you are totally responsible for the relationships in your life, even the ones that you've been hurt by or whatever, you know, or the ones that you perceive as being damaging, really, that you take all of that power back.
Yep.
And you and you decide, is this stuff a story that I'm telling myself about myself? Or do I get to decide who I am? Am I my past? Am I my history? Am I this thing that happened to me? Whatever it is. And some of the things were quite traumatic, right? Because one of the things that they do in this program is like people sit together in an audience. You change up who you sit next to for every, it's a weekend long seminar. And I had Jerry, I don't know who you have, but I had a man named Jerry, who a lot of people will know if I say his name, who have done Landmark. He's amazing. They're all amazing, though. Let's just say that. But I had Jerry. And so the way that they do it is you do these sessions and they're a few hours long. And then when you go back out for a break, you come back in and you sit down, hopefully next to somebody different. There's no such thing. Yes. And throughout the thing, while the man is talking or the woman is talking, you turn to the right or to the left and discuss basically with a complete stranger what has just been said. And you start to lose your fear of, and your embarrassment and your shame of these things that are like actually more common than you think. And you start to say things out loud and make them smaller.
Yeah.
Right?
The emphasis is smaller.
Yeah. And it's like, and did you find when you left that situation, and there's so much to be said about it, and I would love for you to expound upon it, but did you find that suddenly your career, your relationships, that's not to say that things become perfect. They don't. And I do think it takes time. Over time, you will then look back. So now it's been about 5 years for me. 5 years, I can see it. I really you know what I mean? 5 years later, I can absolutely tell you it changed my life. 6 weeks later, I don't know if I would have said that, right? I would have said, yeah, I have a different perspective. Do you find your life easier to navigate because of it?
100%. I'm actually more, I'm already assertive person, but I'm more assertive in how I create.
Yeah.
My relationship with my partner, my relationship with my family has shifted in a positive way. There are things that I have to be mindful of, like how I'm coming across, because I just want to be clear.
Yes.
And
but do you find that people don't appreciate that too?
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with me.
And so, okay, I'm gonna stop you there. That is something that because it's been 5 years, and you can go back and do refreshers if you did it and it's been 5-6 years, whatever it is, and you can go back and do a refresher. I feel like I'm ready for a refresher because I'm hung up on that. People not being okay with me now is starting to bug me again. And I went through a whole period of time where I was like, how you handle that is actually not, I don't want to say it's not my problem because that sounds cold, but it's just, it's not my business.
That, like, I can't get involved in that because it's actually nothing that I've created. So I can't do anything about it.
Right. And do you find so I guess what I'm saying is, and the indifference can come across as not caring. Okay. So I'll say this.
Yeah.
I have a very like toxic family situation, right? And I'm not even like trying to pretend anymore. Like I protected that shit forever, my whole life, and pretended like it was all good and it was all fine. And my father passed when you and I were together. Since my father has passed, there's been like all kinds of crazy shit that's gone on in my family. And it does, like, I don't have to like unpack all of that shit. But I will say that I have chosen to handle certain things the way that I need to handle them, the way that I'm comfortable handling them, even if that means I'm navigating and not even sure necessarily how I feel from moment to moment, but that I am staying true to my own self, my integrity. I'm prioritizing the things in my life that I think are important, and I'm doing the absolute motherfucking best I can. And that is that is the truth to my bone. Like I am doing the best I can. But I am also, in doing that, making the people in my family furious. Furious, man. Like on a level that is like deep and angry and dark. They don't get it. And it comes across, I think, as indifference at times when you are truly going, listen, like, I just can't engage. Like, I'm not going to engage craziness. I'm just not doing it. It is a distraction.
Just tell me what it is that I need to do.
Yeah.
And I'll get it done.
Yeah. And so have you been met with that? You don't have to even say that like it throws you off, but have you been met with people?
Oh,
like
yeah.
People not understanding your kind of like,
especially in this quarantine. I mean, because it's not isolated. Like it's not like, and now I'm a different person. It's this experience has permeated the entire way that I deal with life. So even as I communicate with you, I'm communicating from that new perspective, that new vantage point.
Right.
So everything that I'm going to say is going to feel foreign. Like even the way you believe I'm going to react, I stop myself before I go into that like instinctive, reactive mode that has been used in the past, has been more negative and like angry.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Because you got the tools now.
And then you're right, because I have the tools. So the tools kind of stop, they kind of put a speed bump, like a parking block before I drive over it.
Right.
And then ruin the front of my car.
Sure. Because as I know, back to what we were saying, living in New York City, being an actor, being a dancer, being beautiful, being talented, but also being a little bit like of a mongrel and like there's a competitiveness that you have to have. There is a strength that's required to be even just a beautiful woman on the streets of New York City. Like that alone requires a certain kind of something.
Yeah.
Without also losing your femininity and like the womanhood and like being attached to that too. And not hating your beauty because it like threatens you and like, and then being an actor and like the discipline that it takes and then being taken seriously and then trying to compete and like all of these things that we have to face as like people who do this on a professional level. There's a level of, it can become destructive because it's like, where does it end?
Yeah. The hardness.
Yeah. So, finding this like place of I know how to be like, no, check yourself. Don't speak to me that way. Don't do, the very, 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 but at some point you've got to like, also there's got to be a little bit of self realization.
Control.
Yeah, and just also accepting the fact that people are imperfect and that the world is imperfect and that things aren't going to go the way that we always want them to, and that sort of hardness doesn't need to be there, but you can still be strong and you can still be assertive and you can still. But I think that so much of that shit comes from fear, and whether it starts all the way in your childhood or just kind of started from like being in this business or any kind of business where you're like alone and trying to figure it out, and you feel, every day you have no idea the insecurities of this business and like always trying to sort of chase.
Yeah.
And so you go and you do this thing and it just puts the power back in your hands.
Totally. I used to walk around with this kind of like tension in my solar plexus area.
Yeah.
All the time, all the time. And so then when I actually took the forum, I felt we did this exercise and I felt it kind of go away. And so when I start to feel it return again, I'm like, oh, it's that thing. I need to take a minute. Like, I feel like myself, I feel like I'm getting a little wound up and a little balled up over what is this? I've got to figure out what this is, kind of feel it out, acknowledge it, and then learn with the tools that I've been given how to navigate through it. And I also took a seminar for 10 weeks after the forum.
That's right. You did the aftercare thingy.
Yes. And I think that is really important because you can just do the forum, but then every week you go through experiment, like you can practice with it.
Well, because you're in your life now.
Yeah.
Which is a completely different thing, to make it practical and to apply it, especially when life starts to get crazy. Cause I find that this like quarantine is the craziest shit.
Now this is the test. Like literally, thank God I took it right before this situation.
Oh my God.
It's been about 6 months now, and about 6 months. And I have really seen the difference in how I deal with things. Like I'm able to be communicative and clear. My brain is a little woo woo, but then as soon as I realize it, I'm like, yes, I will do this.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility for what I did and what I did do, what I don't really realize that I did do. There was your family's kind of like, close quarters and you're trying to not step on toes and give people space and stuff. And you got to like kind of manage that. And I had to choose what I wanted to be, like how I wanted to be. And if I'm going to go toe to toe in the disagreement, or I'm just going to be like, okay.
You have to. And so I know what you're saying, because I think had Cassidy 10 years ago done this, been locked in a house with her boyfriend who she's only been living with for 2 months. I mean, literally, we moved in about a month and a half before this thing. Yeah. I don't know what would happen. I've got to say, and you're right. It's that thing of I'm getting tense. I feel that, that alone, I have people in my family that are so out of control, so incapable of stopping themselves before they lose their minds. So incapable of taking the pause and going, what's rational in this moment?
What do you need?
Yeah. Or in other words, like maybe I don't appreciate something that's happening here, whatever that is.
What's the long game and how do I get through this?
Yeah. And also how do I, even if it's selfish, right? Even if it's like, you're trying to get something from me, right? You want something from me. Wouldn't it behoove you to figure out actually how to get it? Do you know what I'm saying? Rather than like do something that's going to not only not make me give you what you want, but like make me like just be repelled by you on a level that like escalates, So when you are sort of when one is in a situation where it's high stress anyway. What's going on? None of us know what's going on financially. It's challenging. I thank God had money in the bank. You know what I mean? Some of us did, but I don't want to spend all my savings. I don't want to burn through it. Unemployment has not been the most amazingly forthcoming. I've never collected unemployment before, so I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I didn't at first. So there's like all of these pressures, all of these stresses is my only point. And it's like, it has been in some ways like practice, like an exercise. Like, how are you doing? And some days I'm not. Some days I'm not great at it. Some days I feel myself
irritable
and emotional and like short fuse. Now, short fuse for me is really not, it never is an explosion, but it's tense and it's not fun to be around, and I don't like feeling like that. But I was going to say like that I know people who are so cannot have an angry feeling without exploding, cannot have something that they need to say to you right now, and do not have the ability to like pause and say, how do I? And these things like landmark, like yoga, like whatever it is, like church, I don't care. It could be anything. Teaching us how to relate to one another. I just think that these things are so important. And I'll tell you, I think you're lucky going into this quarantine having just done landmark. Cause I think that thank God I was like doing a lot of yoga, man. Cause I don't know, like it's been hard for sure.
Yeah. I'm not in the space where I'm even with my partner, my boyfriend. So I'm with my parents.
My God.
I'm with my family here. And so I have my own space. So that's really good. Like I can be here for weeks, months, and only interact with them in certain parts of the day.
Oh.
So it's helpful, but I also don't have any sort of like level of intimacy.
Right.
In that way. And so I've almost like, part of me is kind of almost feeling like a little regressed, like,
Yeah, no.
vagina. So
I get it. No, I know what you mean. I know, but listen, I've been like celibate like for years, and you get like that. You just get like meh. Like
look at these.
I don't even care. Like I don't know.
I could have my shirt off because what? So who cares?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I don't even care that I have breasts right now. I don't even.
It's so funny. Isn't that funny? And I know, and I'm living with my partner who like I love and is amazing. And we have like, we're so attracted to each other, but we've been locked in a house together for 2.5 months. And it's like trying
How much can you do?
Like keeping it sexy, honey. It is hard to keep it sexy when you're like, you're like 2.5 months, 24/7, and it has nothing to do with love. It is all love. Like we have laughed and had so much fun, and he's my best friend. But like I was even thinking to myself, like, I don't feel sexy. Like at what point am I going to start feeling sexy again? Like I just think that going out sometimes and like being in the world and putting on your face and doing your hair and walking around and feeling eyes on you, like those things make you feel sexy. And
I had to get myself together the other day. I watched Masterclass, Masterclass?
Yes. I took it with Alan Sorkin.
Yes. Aaron Sorkin. Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin. Sorry. Yeah.
I've watched a bunch. Like I've
watched a bunch.
And I watched one, the vocal class with Christina Aguilera, and I watched a performance class with Usher because I'm developing my own performance course. So
amazing.
I was like, oh my gosh, Usher has one? Cool. Let me look at it. And I was just like, oh man, I feel like a 15-year-old again, like having a crush on someone I'm looking at on a television. Like I haven't had that feeling, Cassidy.
I
have
know.
not had that feeling in over a decade. Like I want to say over a decade because like I've been able to interface with people, and like you start to like in your mind go, all right, Usher is totally not a attainable goal. Like go with someone who is like literally you can
meet.
So here I go, Cassidy. I'm like looking at this masterclass and the way that it's shot, and like I just remembered how much I loved Usher,
I
Raymond.
know. I get you, man.
So, and he was telling me about all the things that I already knew. So I felt like we were speaking the same language. Like
Oh, yeah.
he wasn't teaching me anything about performance because I live it. I'm like,
Yeah.
my philosophies are very similar and even congruent to his. And I'm like, oh, I feel like we're soulmates, like a twin flame. So I had to go let off some steam. I went for a run, Cassidy.
I'm
I went
telling
for a
you.
run. I went to go and sing, and I ran and sang and I danced and I tried to get it out, like the same kind of energy that you would put out with. Thank God we had that Women Rock, because I was the last time that I could like backbend and like laugh and
Thank
sing.
God. Thank God for two reasons. Thank God for that. And thank God for the paycheck, honey, because all my shit got canceled.
Okay, everything is canceled.
That paycheck has kept me cooking.
Yeah, seriously. So the next day I'm like doing a deep dive. I follow him on Instagram. Like I'm fully in fan mode
Oh
now.
my God. I love it.
I'm like following on Instagram. I'm following on TikTok.
I know what that's like, though. I get it.
I'm like, I didn't know I could feel this way again, like a flutter, like a crush.
Oh
And so I was
my
like, you know what, Syndee,
God.
you are not in crush material. You need to pull yourself together. You need to
No.
put some.
It feels so good. It's like, listen, when I was single for all of those years, I would have crushes and I would fantasize and think about like, oh, and then we were here, we were there. It's like you
Yeah.
can make like movies in your head.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
beautiful.
I became so practical. I was in a bad relationship before. And so like I started becoming very practical and like calculated
Yeah.
with things. So and even so how my appearance and how I feel about myself when I'm home. Like I don't have any like lingerie. I don't have anything like cute and sexy.
Yeah.
Like, and then I realized like that makes me feel really good. So like yesterday and the day before, I just started every morning, every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, I turn on my live and I do this show called The Morning Vibe.
Oh
And
my
I just play
God.
music. I ride my bike, I play music, I ride around the neighborhood, and I just bring whatever sunshine that I have wherever I am, and I send it to wherever you are.
That's
Because like I
awesome.
know that my friends up north are still dealing with cold.
Oh my
So I was
God.
like,
I
all right, we're gonna
know.
do this digital vitamin D. I'm gonna send it to you. So I'm gonna be all good. And then this particular and granted, like it wasn't as nice. It was like me jumping out of bed. Like this, if you look at my Instagram right now, there's one of me in my underwear, like literally like like granny panty underoos. And I was like, good morning, everybody.
You mean your
In
drawers?
my drawers. Like with this dirty, like a raggedy t-shirt and a headscarf, like, good morning, y'all.
Just gorgeous.
About to do this. So like I just try to generate the come as you are feel. Like
I
that's
love
how we
that.
are, so what we doing.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was like, nah, man, take your hair down. It doesn't take a lot. Just take your hair down,
Yes, I know what
go
you
stand
mean.
in, put your glasses on. Like I got some nice sunglasses. I just
Good.
put those on and I go out and do my more dancing. And I played music that I wanted to feel cute dancing to. And it was a mood.
See, I love that. And this is what I'm saying. This made me do that too. Like this puts me in the shower. You know, my hair's too
Gives you
clean.
somewhere to be.
It's too clean right now, but still put me in the shower and it does the thing and I get to engage and my brain gets sparked and all the little synapses start to fire. And then I come off and I feel good because the truth is like, I've been eating like it's my job. I have definitely gained weight. I'm going to lose it. I'm not worried about it, but it's just like, I could definitely slip down the rabbit hole during this thing, man. And this is a very similar thing too, where I didn't want it to be calculated. I wanted to have people on that I enjoy, that I love, that I think are funny and fun and interesting and I wanted to just have real conversations and not feel worried about it and not feel like what do I look like and what's the I just feel like during this time because there are a lot of people who are by themselves and there are a lot of people who just want to connect and want to hear a conversation and are you know this is like so we have the audio version which is all over the place and then we have the live that goes live on my Facebook and then we have the video that sits on YouTube and the YouTube is actually not getting a lot of hits because my Facebook when it goes live it gets passed around and it's just like being passed around a ton. And then we have like the audio version, which is also, I think, like starting to pick up too. But it's funny because I think like at first, like I wasn't really thinking about that. And then I was like, well, why isn't the YouTube doing great? And it's like, you know what? gives a
cares?
shit? Who
Yeah.
fucking gives a fuck? Like, I'm having the best time. I'm talking to the coolest people. I'm having my friends on. I'm getting to see how they're doing. I'm getting to like introduce people to them. And sometimes it gets thousands of listeners and sometimes it doesn't. But it's like, I feel like it's out there now. It's in the universe. And this time, this sort of crazy, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, Elon Musk is trying to put implants in all of our brains and he's trying to turn us all into fucking cyborgs. Like, I don't know what the fuck's happening on the planet right now, but all I know is that this kind of like long form conversation, this kind of, you know, trailing stream of consciousness, like let's touch on this, let's touch on that. I think people have a lot of thoughts in their head at the moment. And I think that they're looking maybe for some kind of connection or another way of like thinking about things or to be introduced to something new. And there's so many opportunities to do that. Like just to say, hey, listen, check this woman out. She's so amazing. She's so smart. She's so talented. And do you have a record out? I'm trying to think because I know that you're doing the shows, but you have a record out. I thought I saw on your website.
Yeah, I put out this album called Lessons from a Lady, and it was inspired by Lena Horne.
Oh my God.
So it's a jazz vocal album. And I wanted to put something out because I've been singing for so long.
Yeah.
And the music that I put out is in the past has been pop, and that's like still something that I'm super passionate about. Like I love the music that I've written and put out.
Yeah.
I have a single called Focus, and I have a single called Gold, and that's like really my heart. Jazz is like, that's where you get to really flow and feel, and you get to be around musicians and stuff. So like I'm a kind of a split between Lena Horne, Sarah Vaughan, Nancy Wilson, and Missy Elliott, and Ludacris, and Busta Rhymes. So
Lauryn Hill, she's my favorite.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill is one of my big inspirations. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was one of my biggest inspirational albums.
That album, it's a go-to for me still.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And also I'm Jamaican.
That's right.
So I'm Chinese Jamaican. So like a lot of that music is influenced by reggae music. So, and hip hop. So, like I flow and I flutter and I love all of it. Like, so, the idea of Queen Latifah being Queen Latifah and then having Dana Owens as her singing alias or
yes.
That's the world that I live in too. And I love it.
That's so good.
Cabaret. I'm doing a show tomorrow, actually, on Facebook Live on my friend Christine Dwyer's page. I'm singing a couple songs. It's called The Leading Ladies of Broadway. And we're just going to get together and sing a couple songs on the live.
Will that be available for people to see? Because this won't air until Thursday. So if people want to see like a back episode of it, okay, good.
Yeah, I'll be reposting it on my page when it.
Okay, good, because that's important. I know, because that's the thing about these shows too. So I did some live concerts, and those I think got 5,000 or 6,000 views, over about a week or two. So it was great. I don't know where they're at now, but when they sit there, it's good because people, they go back and they they don't necessarily know that you did it. Well, in the beginning, there were so many concerts. In the beginning, it was crazy. When everybody went into quarantine, it was like, okay, well, I have Ben Folds 5, and then I have Garth Brooks, and then you're going to go on, and then I'm going to do, and I'm like, my God, it was like a crazy, and John Legend's on right now. And it was just insane. Everybody was playing, everybody was doing shit. I'm actually noticing too, it's sort of funny to watch these TV shows, these late night TV shows, how some of them are just in their attic, and then some of them have the green screen and they have all of the graphic stuff behind them. Some people it just sort of depends, but every single person figured out a way to stay on TV.
Yeah. Even Disney, Disney on Broadway, they streamed a concert to benefit Broadway Cares, and I was in the concert. So I asked if I actually hosted this cast reunion for Jesus Christ Superstar when it aired on NBC Live back in a couple months ago in April for Easter, and we had John Legend actually swing by and say hi to the cast, and because he was an integral part of, he was Jesus.
Yeah.
So
what was it like to work with him?
John is excellent. He's a classy dude. He's a leader. He understands things, but he's also not too far high above things.
Yeah.
He's better or he's above.
Right.
When it was time for rehearsal, he was like, slap me around, do what you need to do.
I love it. And you can tell, like, I feel like you can see that from him. I mean, listen, the way he loves his woman, I don't know. There's just something to be said for that. Like the way that they seem so close and that she's always just so front and center and such, because like, you know, like a lot of these guys like to hide their women.
No, she's a strong one.
Oh, of course. She's got her own thing. Yeah, totally.
And she, I think in many ways compliments his humility, and like she's brought out in him like, all right, speak up. Come on.
Yes.
Because I can't be the only one out here.
Yeah. I'm kind of doing this with Mark too. It's like my boyfriend is this brilliant musician, but he's used to kind of being the sideman, you know, and a brilliant one, and everybody needs that. But he's starting to be like, I want to come on the podcast. I'm like, you gonna be able to talk on the podcast? He's like, I will. And the thing is that people don't know, he's so funny and he's so witty and he's so great. But some people they're not used to being in front of the camera. And so the minute that they see like the little green light is on, it's like, it's like this moment of like, oh fuck. And they just completely forget who they are, you know, and they just forget their personality or whatever. I find that, you know, I'm still sort of finding my way with this thing. And there's so many people I want to have on that I think eventually when we're back in the studio, I'll be able to call up and have on, and we'll be doing like live performances. But like, I wanted to mix it up. I wanted to have like a therapist on, and I wanted to have novelists on, and I wanted to have scientists on. And I feel like, you know, we'll get there, I guess, eventually. But, because I just kind of want to talk to everybody. I've got so many questions. I had my friend on that was a nurse because I wanted to find out about this COVID thing. And does she think it's a conspiracy? And like I said that to her and she was like, fuck no. And I was like, oh shit, like I don't want to offend her. But yeah, there's like all of this conspiracy stuff on the internet that I want to talk about. Like, you know.
Why not?
Well, I'm just curious, you know, I'm just curious more than anything.
I listened to Joe Rogan. I was put onto Joe Rogan's podcast a couple of years ago, and I listened to it because it's the long form, and it's super interesting to hear the questions that he asks and the perspective of his guests.
Yeah.
And the range.
Oh yeah. Well, this is what inspired me to do it. Otherwise. Yeah, this is what inspired me to do it. Joe Rogan was the reason. And I found Joe Rogan accidentally. It was like, I didn't know he was huge. I didn't know he was the biggest one. You know, I was actually getting into Leah Remini because she was doing all that Scientology, like that thing. And she was like whistleblowing, you know, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I was trying to find her and I like Googled something and she was on this podcast and I watched her. And so then I just kind of dug in and watched a few more episodes and I had the exact same response. I enjoyed it. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a couple of years. I finally got the opportunity to do it and not have to be completely in charge of it myself. So I'm very, very lucky that I have BeTerrific on, you know, producing it for me. But I always wanted to do it. But that was the thing. I love that he'll talk to all kinds of people from like all different backgrounds, all different kinds of careers, all different, you know, walks of life. To me, that's the stuff, you know, because a lot of people don't read anymore. It's like not a thing that people do.
A lot of information oratorily.
And there's a lot of information, I think, on his podcast for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so Absolutely. Much.
And I also, I mean, it's controversial, but I listen to The Breakfast Club.
What is that one? I don't know that one.
So it's a morning show on
Fox
Radio called The Breakfast Club. And it's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, and Charlemagne the God. And
I've seen them. I know who they are.
Urban.
Yes. I've watched them.
They speak to the African American community and the communities of color.
Yeah.
And they have the language and the vernacular that, you know, we would find super interesting, but yet they have a good combination of ratchetness and righteousness. There's a good balance of all of that.
Yeah. So, I wanted to do that. I want maybe when I get into the studio to have some people that come in and sit with me and talk, like maybe for every episode for it not to just be me, you know?
Sure.
I think it's a good thing. I think you need to have different kinds of personalities, different perspectives, different questions, things you're not thinking about. But yes, I've actually seen him because he was talking a lot about the R. Kelly thing at one point.
Oh, who? Charlemagne?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
it was good. Like, it was interesting to hear them talk about it, and to get a different perspective on it, and to see kind of like where, like, because different communities, man, it's like different communities have different perspectives on what's happening within their community and within the people that are, part of their community.
100%.
And you always want to know, am I being sold like the white man's like narrative, or, what is it? Like, what do people think? And I mean, he felt like R. Kelly wasn't doing the right thing. Let's just put it that way. That was definitely his perspective. But yeah, like, I found that whole story. Did you watch that documentary?
I always try. I've tried a couple of times to watch it, even up as of last week when you try to get through all the Netflix and all of that. I actually haven't been watching a lot of Netflix. I haven't been watching a lot of anything besides Masterclass and like things to like make my brain bigger.
That's good.
Because you got to be so careful of what you put into your mind. I did watch Tiger King though. That shit blew my mind.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something.
It blew my mind.
It's like when you're watching something and you don't know, is this real, or is this real, or is this like a produced thing that's supposed to look real? But he's in jail. That guy's in jail.
You can't make that up. I don't think you can make that up. That's wild.
Do you think Carole Baskin killed her husband and fed him to the tigers?
I wasn't there, but the way that they painted the narrative, it seemed likely. It seemed like the way that they drew that narrative out, I'm like, wow, all signs do point.
Yeah.
But I was just like, what am I watching? And so I was zeroed in. I was like, I ain't got nothing but time. I'm gonna watch this whole shit today.
That's right.
I was like, oh wait, there are like 6 episodes and they're like 2 hours. I gotta like break this up. So I broke it up around maybe over the course of like 2.5 days. And I was like dreaming about the tiger.
Oh yeah. I was like,
it was in my cerebellum.
Are you having really vivid dreams? That's like a thing right now too. Everybody's having really vivid dreams.
Very vivid dreams.
Yeah.
I have had, but like some of them are like real life, like of living.
Right.
Nothing extravagant. Just like
I'm like on a line at an airport, like something seriously, something so fucking like benign. Like, I'm just online at an airport, but it's so real and so clear. And like, I'm there. I can fucking smell it. Like, it is. And I don't know what that shit's about. I had a girlfriend ask, she's like, are you having crazy vivid dreams? I'm like, yeah. And they're boring as fuck.
They're boring. They're so damn boring. Yeah. I have a friend. I was like, I called him the other day and I was like, hey, boo, I had a dream about you. He said, ooh, what was I doing? I was like, nothing interesting.
No, you were just there and I was just there. And what is that about? Because I never really had vivid dreams. That's the thing. Never. And now I'm having like all these crazy dreams where it's just like, I'm with my dog.
Period.
Yeah. But it's so real and it just feels so real. Every now and then I'll have an anxiety dream. So it's funny. You were talking about having like certain feelings in your gut, like landmark. And then after landmark, you got rid of the feeling. There are certain dreams that I used to have that I stopped having. Anxiety dreams that just stopped after and it made me think of that and I didn't say it. So yes, I used to have like the same reoccurring.
What was yours like?
So I had one that where I was always in the junior high school in my hometown and I was at my locker and I was late for my bus and I couldn't find it and it was going to leave and go home without me. And it was just an anxiety of like trying to find the bus and all the buses are going by and I can't find my bus and I can't get on my bus and I'm going to get left.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that deep? That's one for Freud for sure.
Yeah. Middle school. Love that. It's such an interesting age. I'm like obsessed with that age.
That's a crazy age. It's a tough age.
It's where it starts.
Oh yeah.
Where it starts. Yeah. Where like the stuff starts to kind of sit there and stay there and like, handling it. And like, I'm super obsessed with that age. Mine is anytime I start a new job.
Yeah.
I get this stress dream that as I'm on stage performing or executing the job, like I worked in a movie theater and as I'm doing the job, I'm falling asleep
That's
on the job.
crazy.
The last one I had was when I was at Hamilton, and I was like singing as Angelica Schuyler, satisfied, but I couldn't sing because I was nodding off.
That is so true.
Full costume in front of everybody, and I'm like, may you always be satisfied.
That's crazy. See,
And it doesn't matter what, like it would vary very specific to the job.
and then you wake up and then you just like, you're so stressed out. It's just like the worst feeling ever. The worst is a bad nightmare. And I always get these like strange sort of like aches down my legs when I have a creepy nightmare too, which is so weird. And I always have ever since I was a kid. I want to ask you though, before we wrap up, what's next for you? What are you doing when this thing is done? Do you have a plan? Do you have something you put on hold? What's up?
So right now I am working on my own album, which I hope that maybe one day we'll be able to work together.
I would love that. Are you kidding me?
I would love that.
And I would love to do more of this with you. I'd love to have you in studio. Maybe the two of us like talk about current events or something fun.
Hell yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I think our perspectives are hilarious, and they're different, and we have similar energy, and we're different people.
Totally.
So I think that would be cool.
That'd be great.
Next for me is I'm working on an album. I'm still working on the Lena Horne concept, and trying to pivot and see where how it can be presented in a new way.
Right.
So I'm excited to unpack and unfold that. I've started learning more about how to produce content.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm developing a podcast as well, and I would love to actually have you as a guest.
I would love it.
It's an interesting concept, so we can talk about it offline.
Okay.
And figure out what would be next and how to properly engage. I mean, I'm still also I'm writing a book, and I'm developing a course for young performers from the musical theater standpoint. Predominantly for the perspective of a person of color who has operated that space during and after the boom that was multicultural casting with Hamilton and everything. So to have that perspective it's been unique to me and to the folks who have gone through it. And I'm looking forward to sharing that.
Wow, that's really interesting. And people can find all this stuff on your website, right? Like if as long as they go there, they can find everything.
Yeah. They can find right now. My album is up. Lessons from a Lady is up, and everything else right now we're just I'm currently creating. So my computer is actually stacked on top of a stack of books and journals that are set for all of my creations.
Beautiful. I'm so excited for you. And I can't wait to see you again. We were supposed to come to Florida, but it's not going to happen. When are you coming back to New York? Are you going to come back? Yeah. Keep me posted.
Miami's real lit.
I know. And you guys are opening up.
The sun is here.
I know. And I'm telling you, I wanted to go. We were going to leave on Friday. We have a house in West Palm Beach.
Oh, right.
Mark's family does. And so we were going to go, and he got called back to work, which is good. But at the same time, we're like, now, God damn it.
Yeah, we had a plan, my man.
We were going to go to restaurants.
Money.
I know. But I want to see you. Let's do this again when we're not being recorded. And keep me posted. You have my number. Let's text. And I want to find out what you're doing. I want to find out about your podcast.
Absolutely. Miss Cassidy, Thank you for having me. Beautiful.
All right. Love you, girl. It was so good to see you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Peace.